Ms. Buscemi, what is your poor listening style?
Yeah. What?
What do you think your poor listening style is?
Sure. Yeah. No, my poor listening style is probably pretend listening, because if I'm doing something, a lot of times I won't really be listening to a person. If they're talking to me, I'm not a very good multitasker when it comes to that. So pretend listening for me.
And then, what poor listening styles do you see in your classroom from your students? Mr. Buscemi?
Hi. Oh, sorry, I was just spacing out there. No, spacing out. I would say my students space out all the time. Tried to give you a good example of what I deal with every day, multiple times a day.
Okay, thank you.
What is your poor listening style?
My poor listening style is probably the word listening one. I sort of glaze over unless I hear something that catches me, like so many people do today. But yeah, that would be my downfall.
And what do you see mostly in your class?
How I teach? I'm a prober. I like to play on people's emotions because it does make them react and it makes them think more. And also I like to give advice. So I like to, in all of my lessons, I like to tie real life into it.
Beautiful. And what poor listening styles do you see with your students most in your classroom?
Selective listening. I think kids are so over inundated with information, with the internet and all the apps and everything, that they know just how to look at you and tune right out because their mind is somewhere else. So yeah, you gotta reel them in.
That's me.
Keep it exciting.
What's your poor listening style?
My poor listening style would definitely be pretend listening, because I feel like as a teacher, we deal with so many kids and so much teaching, especially with ag. Like, we have so much outside of the classroom that we do. So sometimes I find myself pretend listening to people because I'm working at my desk, I'm working on something for FFA, and kids are trying to talk to me, and like, I have a relationship with them, so I want to hear about their life, but sometimes it doesn't like register in my brain, and I'm just making like very monotone robot responses of like, okay, cool.
So what poor learning style does your class use?
I would say the one that they most use would definitely be like spacing out. I think it's hard because a lot of kids sign up for my class so that we can go outside, do things in the barn, do things in the greenhouse. And on days when we're in the classroom and we have to learn something before we go out there, the kids don't really want to learn about it because they signed up in the class because they're active learners, hands-on learners, visual learners, and so it's hard for them to sit down, so they usually space out or try to get on their phones.
Your poor learning style?
Listening style.
Listening style.
My listening style, I would say out of the choices, would be advising. Because in my role, I deal with a lot of students, and one of my goals for those students is to help them. I don't like seeing students make poor choices or get in trouble. So if I can advise them and maybe some of the mistakes that I've made from my personal experiences, share those with the students so they don't make the same mistakes but make better choices, I think that's ultimately what I try and do.
Okay. And what poor listening styles do you see in the students?
Sometimes when the students, I see them using the pretend listening, because sometimes when you get called to the principal's office, they always think it's a bad thing. So no matter when I'm talking to them, they're just thinking, am I going to be in trouble or what's going to happen to me? Rather than just listening sometimes, that I'm just trying to help you through a situation. It's not about students getting in trouble, but trying to help them. But sometimes they're pretend listening because in the back of their mind they're always thinking, okay, am I going to get a detention or what's going to happen?
Okay.
listening style is facing. Why? Because I get bored and think about other things. That's very cool.
Action.
Hey Sam, what's your poor listening style?
My poor listening style is judging because people are weird. What is your poor listening style?
Selective listening,
Why?
because I pay attention only to the part of the conversation that interests me.
Second.
Hey Bailey, what's your poor listening style?
Advising. This is when we give advice drawn from our own experiences.
Oh, that's not.
What's your poor listening style?
Self-centered listening. We see everything from our own point of view.
Hey Mackenzie, what's your poor listening style?
Probing.
Why?
When you dig up emotion before people are ready to share them.
Yeah.
What is
Hey Bailey, what's your poor listening style?
Advice.
What's your poor listening style?
Selective listening,
Why?
because I like to listen to what I think is important.
That's great. What is your poor listening style?
Selective listening,
Why?
because
What is your poor listening?
selective listening,